Hello and welcome to your 5th tutorial on JavaScript. Today we'll be talking about loops and some more additional things. And so basically loops executes a block of code multiple times, so it is just like its actual meaning. And to start off, as you see, I've made a div tag, and inside I'm going to give it a class. We're going to switch up some things and we're going to be working with classes instead of IDs. And let's go ahead and write C1 for example. And let's write some text. Let's also add in a button tag, add in the onClick attribute. Let's give it our function and let's start with F1. Let's also give this some text, so click me, and let's go ahead and close our button. And now let's go ahead and work with our function. So go ahead and type in your function F1, open and close your curly braces, and let's add some variables. So go ahead and type in var and let's make the keyword text, and let's just leave it blank. And let's also make a variable which will be, let's say, I, and its starting value, let's say, will be 0. And so now let's go ahead and add in a loop which is going to be called while. So basically while loops through a block of code while a specified condition is true. And there are some other loops like for in, and do while, which we'll get to learn more later on. So when we've written our while loop, let's go ahead and give it a statement. And so let's state that I, so our variable I right here, is going to be smaller than 10. And open your curly braces. And so basically what we're stating is that anything in these curly braces will work 10 times. And so inside of our while loop, let's go ahead and type in text, so our text variable, and let's add in a plus symbol, so an addition symbol, and an equal sign, and we're gonna write in quotes number, add in a colon, and we're gonna add a I variable to this. So basically what we're doing is we're combining the text variable with number and the plus I variable through the plus sign. So this is basically called concatenation. So we're using the plus operator for concatenation. And what we're going to do next is in our loop, let's go ahead and also add in I equals I plus 1. And as you see, we're basically balancing these two of the same variables, so the I variable, and we're adding 1 to it. So in function, let's display our C1 class. So let's get out of here, and inside of here we're going to type in variable, and let's just name it T, which is going to equal documents. And be careful here, we're using something different, which is going to be get elements. As you see, it has an S, so elements by class. And so the reason is obvious, because we're using a class instead of an ID, so we're finding it through the class name. And as we wanted C1 to be displayed, we'll just go ahead and type in inside of the brackets C1. And you need to be careful with this, as JavaScript, as I've mentioned many times before, is case sensitive. So basically our C1 is applying, so basically our code is, let's say, applying to all of our C1 elements, and which makes our variable T a array, which, as we remember from our old lesson, is a place where you can store more than one value. So it can basically store multiple values in a single variable. And when we save and refresh, we get something that looks a little like this. And if we want to apply or request to our first value, element value, what we're going to do is we're just going to type in a T and square brackets, and we're going to write 0, as that is going to be the starting div, and I'm going to type in dots inner HTML, which will equal text, so the text variable. And if we go ahead and save, refresh our page, and after clicking on our click me button, we're going to get numbers from 0 to 9. So we actually have 10 values. And the reason why we have 10 values is because of our loop, which checks the statement, which is this: I is smaller than 10. And so firstly, our I variable is 0, and so this is actually true. So 0 is indeed smaller than 10. And so our browser works with the text plus number plus I code, where the text variable is given number. So this is the text variable, and it is given a number plus the value of I. And then secondly, we add to our I a plus 1, so that is basically 0 plus 1. So this I is indeed a 0, and we add 1, which makes it into 1, and it goes so on. And then the other value is going to be 1 after 0, and it will be added a 1 down here when the browser checks it, and it will turn to 2, and so on. It goes to 10 values, just like we've stated right here. And if the code was, let's say, smaller than 10, which is obviously false, our code would not work. And so as we see, our numbers are going a horizontal way, and we can easily change them to a vertical way. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use our concatenation once more, and we're going to add in our plus operator. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in a BR tag, which we know from our HTML lessons. And also let's change this to I++, which does the same thing as I plus 1. And now if we go ahead and save and refresh, we click on the button, we get vertical numbers, and they are from 0 to 9. Now let's go ahead and just comment on our code in our function, which we won't be needing. And what we're going to do next is we're going to write a variable and phone, and let's go ahead and list some brands of phones like Apple. So we're currently creating a array, and Samsung, comma, and Sony, and LG. And we're going to use loop to get them displayed. So before that, let's also add in our variable I, which will have the starting value of 0 once more. And let's have variable text as well, and we'll just leave it empty. And let's go ahead and create our loop, and in its brackets we'll go ahead and type in phone, square brackets, and our variable I, and open your curly braces. And we're basically adding our array with our I variable, and inside let's go ahead and type in our text variable, and using our plus and equal operators, let's go ahead and type in phone, so that they sort of merge together with our I variable. And we add another operator as well, and our BR tag. And lastly, to our I value, we're adding I++. And let's go to our function, and inside let's go ahead and copy this, paste it here, and let's go ahead and save, refresh, and after clicking the button, you see that we get our brands right here. So Apple, Samsung, Sony, and LG. And just to make them look a little bit nicer, let's use some HTML code that we've learned way before. So that the first one is H1, just to make it look a little bit bigger. We add a plus right here, and we are also going to add its closing tag and an HR tag. Now if I save this, refresh, you see that now we have them looking much more cleaner and bigger with lines. And let's also go ahead and comment on this part as well. And what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about another loop. And to start off talking about this loop, let's also go ahead and create another variable I, and let's give it no value, and let's go ahead and create another variable text, which we will also leave blank. And let's go ahead and create our for loop. So basically this for loop creates a loop that consists of 3 options / expressions, and we write them in brackets, so our statements. And for the first one, let's write I equals 0, and for the second one, let's write I is smaller than or equal to 5, and for the last one, let's write I plus plus. So this first one right here states the value of I, so the starting point is 0. The second one is a statement where if it is true, our browser will work our code. And this third one, when our code for alert works, the I variable gets added by 1, so 1 gets added to the variable. And we also just need to add its curly brackets and add its alerts. And for example, let's write hello. Let's go ahead and save, refresh, and if I click on my button, I'm going to get a alert which says hello. And it will actually work as many times as the I is smaller than 5 what turns wrong, so which is basically 6 alerts. So the first one, which is 0, and then it gets added 1, and this 5 right here, so we get 6 alerts. 1 2 3 4 5 6. And so if I write 1, so 1 is either smaller than or equal to 5, which is true, I will get my alerts. And if I write 5, which is also true, I will still get my alerts. The alerts for 1 will be infinite, by the way. And then if we write a 6, which I's value will later be, and if I save this and refresh, and if I click on the button, nothing will happen as this is false. And so let's go back to our original code, and instead of alert, let's go ahead and write something else. So let's just write text, so our variable with our operators and number and a plus and our br tags. And then in function, let's go ahead and write this code to get it displayed on our web page. And now if I save, refresh, I'm going to get, and the reason why we don't have numbers here is because I haven't added in the variable I right here, like this. And now if I save this, refresh, I will get my numbers from 0 to 5, which is actually 6 values. And if we go ahead and get rid of this equal sign and we save, refresh, I will now only get numbers from 0 to 4, as 5 was actually equal to 5, and now it's not, as I've removed the symbol. So now I have 5 values. And we can also easily change this starting number. We can change it to, let's say, a 2. And if I save this, click on the button, my numbers start from 2, and I only have 3 numbers up to 4. And to continue, let's just go ahead and comment on this as well. And what we can do is we can create a p tag. You can do this with a div as well, it doesn't matter. However, let's try it with a PID, and let's name it D1. Close our p tag. Make a p tag with the ID D1, and we can close it. Or you can call it whatever you'd like. Let's change it to demo, and we're gonna type in a document get element by ID. So go ahead and type this in, and what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to type in something called Typeof. So Typeof is basically self-explanatory. It is the type of JavaScript that we're using, if that makes sense. And so if I was to write something like just 2 quotation marks, which is actually a string, and if I write a plus, and if I write br, after after saving and refreshing, you see that I get a string, as this is a string. So it basically identifies what we're working with. And to continue, I can also add in a plus sign here and write Typeof 0 plus br. And let's see what this gives us. Save, refresh, save, refresh, and I'm gonna get number, as 0 is a number. If I were to write it in between quotation marks, I would get a string just like this. And I can also type in, let's say, false, which is a part of a boolean, true or false. Save, refresh, I'm going to get the word boolean. And if I were to write an array, so something in square brackets like numbers, and if I save, refresh, I'm going to get object right here. And if I were to change array, let me add in a plus sign here, and if I were to write date like this, which is a event, save, I'm going to get string, as it is a string essentially. And you can just basically clarify anything using Typeof. We can also get to see the type of our variable p1, which equals text. So I'm going to type in Typeof p1. Let's save this and refresh. And when I click, I'm going to get string, as variable p1, p1's value is text, which is string. And also, there's not just these type of values, there's way more. I leave that to you for you to find out. And you can go ahead and have fun with this and try out other things. And so let's go ahead and continue. And lastly, let's just talk about something that will be useful in the future for you. And still in our fraction, let's go ahead and type in some variables like variable x, which will equal, let's say, 5. And then let's change it to 3 and change it with y. And lastly, z, which will actually be x times y. And so what we can do is we can easily get rid of the variables, and JavaScript will still understand this code. And I can also just go ahead and type in console log to get it displayed with our result, which is z. And if I save, refresh, nothing happens. However, if I go to inspect and console, I will get the number 15, which is the result of 3 times 5. And so yeah, that was all that I had prepared for today. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.